Two figures that one would think ought to be wildly apart, now almost identical. The GDP of Punjab, 5.4 lakh crore of rupees. The annual turnover of less than 1,000 Indian companies operating out of Britain, the same, 54 billion pounds. Something to be welcomed or something we should worry about? Before we do either, consider first what the company Grant Thornton found in its survey of the annual performance of Indian companies in Britain.
Yes, so the highlights of the 2022 Grant Thornton India Meets Britain report, produced in collaboration with CII, has highlighted that despite the pandemic, despite Brexit, the investment footprint by Indian companies into the UK has actually increased. So from 850 companies that we had last year in last year's report, we now have 900 companies with a combined turnover of 54.4 billion compared to 50.3 billion last year. And they have employing over 140,000 people, which is an increase of nearly 20% on last year when it was 116,000. So overall, it's been a dramatic increase in investment footprint in all sorts of areas, employment, turnover, number, despite the pandemic challenges that we've all had over the last year.
But all enterprise is adventure, and Indian companies have for long been setting footprints abroad, even if those footprints have not been quite as large as they are now, or striding forward and outward.
Indian companies have historically been global in nature, even if you look at it from historical times. And a lot of Indian businesses have done wonderfully well in their home market. But then there comes a time when they have to look at greener pastures and where they can get their next growth story. And that's where then they look at multiple markets and foreign markets. You can't force a company to go and invest abroad. They will only do it when then they see a business logic to it and they see that there's going to be some business revenues coming out of it.
For many of these companies, expansion into Britain has come in addition to and not instead of growth in business back home.
Our partner firm in India, Grant Thornton India, will be launching the other version of this report, which is the Britain Meets India report, which tracks British investment in India. And the numbers that came out of the last year's report were equally significant. The numbers of jobs created are in the range of 400,000. The revenue generated by British companies in India is significant. And British companies in India are always looking out for joint ventures and collaboration. And on the back of the visit and the aspirational date of Diwali for the FTA, I'm a firm believer of somebody who has been on this corridor for 15 years. I'm a firm believer the next few years are going to be watershed movement for India-UK relationship, and investments in both directions. Indian investments come to the UK as well as British investments going into India. I'm very, very hopeful of it.